Franchising has been taken over by private equity, and many brands are owned by private equity. No offense to the brands that are, but that's just not who we are. We've never taken PE money. We wouldn't entertain PE franchisees either. We're not looking to do the 100-store deal with a PE group. We want to have a different kind of relationship with our team leaders. It truly is a family type of environment. And we just don't think you lose some of that, in the PE world.
Hello, everyone, and thanks again for tuning in to the latest edition of Fran Coach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of Fran Coach and your podcast host. We have a franchise partner coming in to join us today. And oftentimes when we have our franchise partners coming in and kind of shining the spotlight on them, oftentimes it's a brand people maybe doesn't have huge name recognition. I've never heard of that before. I didn't even know that was a thing. This one, you're going to know this one, but still very cool to understand the amazing opportunities that are still out there, and certainly a little bit more about what makes this brand unique versus some things that might kind of seem on the surface to look the same. So eager to chat with these folks. But first, a quick reminder of who we are at Fran Coach. Fran Coach is the premier franchise consulting firm. Our number one goal is to properly educate you on franchise ownership to determine if you should own one. And if so, we're going to help you find your absolute best fit. Our educational approach ensures we focus on the client's best interest. We are not here to sell you a franchise. In fact, we don't sell anything. Finding the best franchise to own is an incredibly personalized and individualized process that can only work with a team of experts focused on what is truly most important. That's you. Fran Coach, our services are always 100% free to use, so reach out to our team. Click the QR code or find us at francoach.net. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, guys, we are back on the Franchising 101 podcast, and joining us again, really second visit on this podcast a few years ago, and got a new brand, and excited to talk about this emerging concept called Sport Clips. Who's ever heard of that? But it is the Vice President of Franchise Development, our good friend Brent Greenwood. Brent, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Happy to be here.
I am, as you probably neither of us are very good customers for Sport Clips at this point in our existence, but we're looking forward to chatting a lot about this. And thanks for coming on, man. Tell us again. I want to start with you. Yeah. And I know you've been in the franchising world a while from this, but talk kind of, how did you get your start in all this back in the day?
For sure. I'd love to talk a little about that. But before I do, I've got to say, us bald guys have a place at Sport Clips too. I go there for a great experience at least once a month. So, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But I think if you visited,
look at you, a teaser absolutely, right off the bat.
Absolutely, the bald guys are in good hands at Sport Clips. So
okay. I will make note of that. Please.
My journey into franchising really began about 20 years ago, and that's when I got my first opportunity in franchising with a brand called JanPro Commercial Cleaning Systems. So in the commercial cleaning industry, really knew nothing about franchising at that time. So I was very much like a franchise can at that time, not knowing a whole lot, maybe did a little research going into it, but I ran the business for a master franchisee of JanPro. So I covered really all aspects of the business, not just franchise development side of things, but franchise development was certainly one of my roles. And it's really what resonated with me the most and what I really just kind of fell in love with. And after a year of doing that, I decided to really focus in on staying in the franchise industry, but really look for something more specific to franchise development. And I stumbled on this little brand called Firehouse Subs at the time. Firehouse Subs was just a small regional brand at the time, 300 units, and they were looking to start their franchise development team. So I came on board as the director of franchise development for them. ended up staying there for 15 years. So that's much of my career in franchising, and helped that brand grow from 300 units when I started to just shy of 1,200 locations before leaving the brand. And they were bought by a public company, and things changed a little bit, so it was time to move on and hopefully replicate the success I had with Firehouse Subs with another brand. And spent a couple of years between two, or closer to a year or 2.5 years between two brands. We sell restaurants, leading their franchise development efforts, as well as clean franchise brands representing the iconic brand of Martinizing Cleaners at the time. That's when you and I had an opportunity to want to do one of these things. And about 10 months ago, I got a call out of nowhere to evaluate an opportunity with Sport Clips. And frankly, I wasn't thinking about making a change at the time, but I heard too many good things. Great brand, great culture, great family values, and once I checked it out, it all checked all the boxes that I was looking for in a career, or the end of my career stop, hoping that this leads me into one day getting to enjoy the fruits of my labor and sailing up to the sunset.
That sounds amazing. So it's been really like 20 years now, right? From when you first started with Jan Pro. Can you remember back, like, how did that even come about? I mean, I'm guessing wasn't a search of like, oh my gosh, I got to get into franchising. It was the job and it just happened to be. Is that kind of what happened?
Leading up to that point, I'd spent much of my career in sales and sales leadership positions, overseeing call centers, outbound sales or outside salespeople, inside salespeople, selling anything from telemarketing all the way up through advertising for hoteliers. The list goes on and on of the things, or the products that I've managed teams for over the years. I met my beautiful wife towards or close to the time in which I got into franchising, and the catalyst was, hey, I needed to move to be closer to my future wife, and started looking for opportunities in that market, which was the greater Jacksonville, Florida area. And stumbled on the opportunity with Jan Pro. And again, I really didn't know much about franchising, but the opportunity to run their entire business and to learn more about franchising was just too good to pass up. So that's what got me in. I've been sold ever since.
I was going to say 20 years later, like almost everybody we know in the industry is rarely is their intent on getting into it. It just kind of happens, and then here we are, however many years and decades later, and the logo may change once in a while, or anything like that. That's or even when people get into franchising as an owner, it's rarely what they think it's going to be. I've always done this, therefore it should be that. It's pretty uncommon. But then once people get in, man, they don't leave for so many different reasons. And now you are at this, unknown little startup brand called Sport Clips, which is, again, maybe there's somebody out there that doesn't know what the hell Sport Clips is, but on this slim chance, give us the Sport Clips elevator pitch.
Sure. Well, our mission is to create a championship haircutting experience for men and boys in an exciting sports environment. We want to give great haircuts to our clients, but the focusing on men and boys is certainly unique to our brand. And we're the only national brand that focuses strictly on men and boys in the haircutting industry. So that's quite a differentiator there. But we're known for our signature service called the MVP service. And this is where these bald guys come into play here. Not only do you go in and get a great trim or haircutting experience, but you also get a shampoo, hot towel, facial and scalp massage, as well as neck and shoulder massage. And that just elevates that overall experience that men and boys just simply aren't accustomed to with other haircutting places that they may go to. And really that comfortable atmosphere with your favorite sports right there on the TV, all while getting pampered. So it's a pretty awesome experience, a great way to kind of treat yourself.
Yeah, because it's like
dudes kind of get ignored in the like beauty space most of the time, right? It's the
Absolutely.
My wife purposely will not actually tell me how much money she spends on anything hair related for her, and I don't know that I really want to know. But dudes, we kind of get ignored. And when I did have hair, that is where I predominantly went, was to sport clips and like you mentioned the hot towel. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about the hot towel, right? Like how nice that was. Or my cheap ass just happy I could get a soda for free when I was there. I don't know if that's still a thing, but there was always a little beverage you could grab as well. So and been around, like, give us a little history on sport clips, because been around a long time and tons of locations out there. What's kind of some of the background stuff?
Sure. Well, when this was started just over 30 years ago by our founder, Gordon Logan, at that time, he was in the full service salon industry. And it was actually a franchisor. He ended up selling that business to start sport clubs. But it was him that really identified the lack of options for men and boys. And that was the inspiration for sport clips that came from that. So he started with just one store there in Austin, the greater Austin, Texas area, grew organically, at least initially. And then over the course of the next 5 years, grew to 50 locations. And then another 2 years later, he was up to over 100 locations. And now we're quickly approaching 1,800 and beyond. So we're not done though. I mean, that's the great news for me. It's certainly job security there. We certainly want to grow the brand well beyond 1,800 stores. See a nice runway for growth to even get to 2,000, 3,000 and beyond over the course of the next 10 to 15 years.
So talk about that a little bit, Brent, because that may freak somebody out. That's like, oh my gosh, there's so many. There's no way there's any availability. But in reality, there is, because these are. I mean, again, I know there's always a radius with this, but it's certainly multiple in any given market. What is a realistic number for at 1,800 right now? What is a kind of a realistic cap in the U.S. for sport clips?
We don't like to throw numbers out there because at the end of the day, you never know how the markets are going to evolve. And that's something we have to reevaluate almost annually. And actually a couple times a year, we take a look at our optimization map and make sure and validate the areas that we've identified that are good target areas. Sometimes we delete some, sometimes we add some. So you don't know exactly where that will land at the end of the day, but we do feel very comfortable in growing beyond 3,000 locations. Yeah,
and you talked about kind of like keeping a pulse on the growth areas and things like that. I just think of half my life I live in Arizona, and was literally taking my kid to his orthodontist appointment in like a kind of a growing suburb of the Phoenix area. And I hadn't been there in 15 years, and I was driving. I'm like, holy crap, like this didn't exist. These were cows like 10, 15 years ago. And now it's just booming. There's everything. And so I'd like, you guys have whether it's a real estate team or marketing or whatever, you guys have people that are really kind of keeping an eye on an understanding of where those growth markets are. That factors in a lot to what this looks like for you guys, right?
It's a combination of metrics driven decisions. So we obviously are targeting areas that have at least 30,000 people within 3 miles, but we're also making sure that we're going to areas that have a very high density of our core customers. We over 30 years, we have a well-defined target market from a marketing standpoint. So we know where we need to be to get the attention of that captive audience. But it's also, we have a pretty robust field team that's out there and has an awful lot of market knowledge. They're driving these markets regularly. They're the ones validating these trade areas and making sure that the right areas that we want to go into, they may uncover some opportunities that the data just doesn't show us yet. And these are areas that we want to keep an eye on, and may not be immediately ready for a store, but we want to be one of the first to the market when they are ready. So we're going to keep a close eye on those stores or those markets.
It's I think I always share with folks as they're whatever franchise they're looking at, the mapping software and the demographics and the metrics franchisors have is pretty creepy with that, but and especially for a brand like Sport Clips has been around for so long. you know who your person is, you know how many you need in that area. I'm guessing that gives your candidates a lot of confidence to know, like, because it's easy to feel like, oh, is 30,000 people enough? And but you start understanding how many of those you need to come in the door, and the fact that they're going to come back every 4 to 6 weeks or whatever.
Sure.
I'm guessing that helps give people a lot of confidence, knowing
It does.
that you guys know what the heck you're talking about from a location standpoint.
Yeah. And certainly, each and every site that we approve for our team leaders, we call our franchisees team leaders. So I'll use that word synonymously with franchisees and team leaders. So if I say one or the other, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But we also put every single site through a real estate committee made up of our senior leadership team and other members of the organization that really look at all things related to the success of that store. So not just the actual visibility, just the normal characteristics you would look at, but how easy it is to recruit stylists in that area. Yeah. That's a factor that we consider, but also co-tenants and just the whole picture we're looking at. And we probably approve less than we turn down more than we approve through that real estate committee. And I think it just gives the team leader extra confidence that we are in fact looking out for their best interests. So we want them to have a very successful store.
Yeah. So one of the things for people looking at a brick and mortar franchise is that real estate support, because almost like pretty much no one has ample experience of like, oh yes, I've signed a bunch of commercial real estate leases, right? Like I leased a car, maybe I leased an apartment back in the day, but this is totally different. And so kind of share with everybody a little bit about like the support that Sport Clips gives their team leaders, right? Yeah. Team leads, right? Did I say that right?
Sure.
For not just finding the right location, but finding to getting open. Because I know there's a ton that goes in there that people maybe don't always realize.
Sure. And the support we give them extends well beyond just the support team that we've assembled to provide or deliver that support. But we have our team separated by a franchise development team and a real estate team, and have dedicated real estate resources in market to support our team leaders. And those are the field real estate managers. And we also have a VP overseeing that team that's based out of our office in Georgetown, Texas. But those regional real estate managers are not the ones that are the boots on the ground finding the sites. They work with a very large network of brokers, local brokers, that are identifying the opportunities. And we carefully select the right brokers for our brand who know our know the criteria for Sport Clips very well and are identifying. We're the first brand that they reach out to when the right site surfaces. So as those opportunities come across those regional managers' desks, they present them to eligible team leaders in the market to get that store approved and on the way to opening. We also add an additional layer, which is a little unique, I think. We have earlier this year, we brought on a team member to assist our existing team leaders in dealing with lease renewals. As leases come up for renewal, some of the terms aren't very favorable for our team leaders, and we want them to have an expert by their side to help them negotiate the best terms possible. In some cases, our team leaders or franchisees would be faced with potentially closing a store because of the rent hikes and the rent increases that are coming up, that are being offered at renewal. So we're putting all the resources we need into helping our team leaders navigate that step and keep their stores open.
Oh, I love that added component, right? Because it's really almost like it's two things. Well, not almost. It is two things. Here's the franchise agreement, and here's your lease agreement as well. And they may not have the terms may be different, right? As far as the years, and probably oftentimes are, or even your franchise agreement, you're ready to renew that. You're like, oh crap, I got to renew the lease. I don't want to have to move to, if you have to move to a new location, but you've got 10 years worth of customers used to showing up right there.
That's
Not
right.
that you can't retrain them, but it's way easier if you don't have to. So that's a fantastic added component. I love that.
Yeah, and a 30-year-old brand is going to have some relocations. Much to your point, it's not always keep the store open. Sometimes the area over 30 years could not be the best area anymore. So it might make sense to move that store to the area, the up and coming area, the area that's already been reestablished that would replace that market. So it's having an expert by their side to help them make those types of decisions is super important.
What if your 9-to-5 job didn't last forever? What if there was a better way to create professional success your way without fear of layoffs or downsizing? What if I told you that it's all possible through franchise ownership? Franchise ownership gives you a proven playbook to execute, so you can be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. But with thousands of franchises out there, how do you know which is the best one for you? That's where Fran Coach comes in. Fran Coach will help build out your ideal business model based on your talents, skills, and core values. Then use our proprietary knowledge of the franchises to bring curated options based on what you want, and then guide you through the vetting process until we find your best match. Individualized, personalized, and 100% free to you. Ready to control your future? Scan the QR code or visit francoach.net and let Fran Coach help create your better tomorrow.
And I love your comment there, because I had this happen with a client not too long ago where they were looking at a brick and mortar franchise, and they're doing all their fear-based research of Google and stuff. And there used to be one in the strip mall. It's not there anymore. It failed. I'm like, well, it's possible. Yes, that's possible. But find out, you take 2 seconds and ask the franchisor a question. No, they just moved from there because just what you said, that wasn't as good of a place. That was a bougie Whole Foods 10 years ago, and now it's a Kmart. Yeah, yikes, let's move. And they're just, a mile and a half down the road, right? And so
That's correct.
So again, understanding those things is great. So I want to come back to that owner or not owner or franchisee, the team leader,
yes.
right? Team leader. So
you can call them franchisees. That's okay.
Okay. I don't want to get yelled at, Brent. So trying to do the right. So talk a little bit about that person. And there's always the myth in franchising, I have to know how to cut hair to own a Sport Clips, or I need to know how to do this, to own that. And that's rarely the case. What are you seeing? I think two things is kind of backgrounds, if there's any commonalities of backgrounds that you see as owners, and then what's kind of that day in a life?
Sure. Well, our team leaders don't typically come to us with any haircutting experience of any kind. This is a manager-managed model run by stylists, licensed cosmetologists. So that's those are the boots on the ground in the stores, running the day-to-day operation of the stores. And our team leaders are, creating the culture in their stores. They're overseeing the business. They're working very closely with their store managers to keep up with all the KPIs that we know leads to a successful store. But so their day in the life is very different than being hands-on in store 24/7. And this is, that manager-managed model is what allows many of our new team leaders coming into the system to keep their full-time careers while they're starting the Sport Clips business. Now, obviously, they have to have the flexibility with their full-time careers to give this business the time and attention it needs to make it successful. But the opportunity really is to scale your business over time to reach a point where you can comfortably step out of that full-time career and focus full-time on your Sport Clips business. That usually we find that at about 3 stores. That's when that transition typically happens. So the day in the life of a Sport Clips team leader looks very different than what it might be for like a restaurant owner who's got to be in their operation 24/7. What we see out of, we have franchisees or team leaders from all walks of life. But many of them were passionate or just love the brand as customers before they even considered the franchise opportunity. Maybe when they first started visiting Sport Clips, they had no thoughts of ever investing in a franchise. But as their careers have evolved, they get to a point where they want to transition into business ownership and start thinking about franchising and like, oh, this brand that I really love that I've been going to for many years is a franchise. So let me look into this. So many of our most successful franchise owners came to us with a passion for this business already. It's not something that we can instill on people. It's something they kind of brought to us. But there's some other things, that characteristics that we look for in great team leaders for our brand. They have to align with our company values, which is kind of the heart of the champion. And they're actually values. It's kind of timely that I should talk about this, because they came from the legendary coach Lou Holtz's values. Yeah. And as you probably know, he passed away yesterday. So we're, terrible news to learn that we lost him. But his legacy will live on long through Sport Clips and through those values, which is do right, do your best, and treat others the way they want to be treated. So simple values. But right. Our franchisees and team leaders really have to embrace those values, embrace our culture, and really be equipped from a background experience standpoint, leadership skills to create that same culture within the four walls of their stores. That's a big piece that only the team leaders can do. Yeah. And we also see there's that segment that has customer experience with Sport Clips, and then there's another segment of really highly successful team leaders that come from a background of multi-unit retail management experience, some of which could have been in franchising, owned and operated multiple franchise locations. But in some cases, it's somebody that just ran a chain of retail stores and had gained a significant enough experience to easily transition into business ownership and operating a retail business like ours. So, but we do see team leaders from all walks of life. Those are just some of the key characteristics that we look for.
Yeah, you were, and most definitely at no point in there did you say, "Hey, are you good at cutting hair?" Right. So that is definitely not the case with this. And the other one's going to ask is, like, I think this is in some ways a simplistic business model, and at no point do I mean easy, but there's not 5,000 menu items or anything like that. But you've got to be able to hire and kind of be comfortable hiring your stylists they're the experts. You don't need to be in there micromanaging them, like standing over their shoulder or cutting their hair. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have to have a little bit of like, hey, I really can trust and delegate the experts that I am hiring to do their job. Yes. and be able to, and not everybody can do that, and that's okay, but that is, and then really kind of be able to oversee the multiple locations. Those things pretty important, would you say?
Oh, they're critical. And I think if you ask that question of our team leaders, you'd get probably 99% of them would say that the key to success is having a great store manager. So this is very much a people business. It starts with having that great store manager and great stylist underneath that store manager. Our team, part of our support system includes our recruiting team that really helps team leaders through all their recruiting needs, to include just serving up stylist candidates for them to interview. It's really the job of the team leader just to timely act on those opportunities and interview those candidates and choose the right stylist to join their respective Sport Clips stores. So recruiting is one piece of it, and then the retention is the other piece. Creating that great culture is so critical to retaining those great stylists that are delivering that MVP experience to our clients.
Well, I'm glad you brought up because it was kind of literally, it was the next question is like, okay, I think I could wrap my head around owning a Sport Clip. So I'm like, holy crap, I've never hired stylists before. How do I do that? That's again, you got a huge support thing there.
We do.
I always think the retention, there's things franchises are going to help, but that's me as the owner. Like, if I'm going to treat everybody like crap, there's going to be a revolving door. When I think the beauty of that kind of skilled licensed labor like this is this is their profession. They just want a good
Yeah.
place to go work and perform and have some fun and be appreciated. And if you can create that culture, they're gonna. I would assume you've got stories all over your stores of stylists that have been there for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever, and just they love it and they don't leave.
The very first stylist at Sport Clips is on our support team now as a VP of talent acquisition. So that's 30 plus years there. So that's just one of many impressive 10-year stories with Sport Clips. But stylists speak to other stylists, and you almost don't have to work too hard at recruiting if you do a great job creating culture. So if you got the right stylist, they're going to go talk to their other stylist friends and say, "Hey, you got to check out this Sport Clips." And next thing you know, you've got the perfect team of stylists. And you only need, once you're established, about 7 stylists per store. Now, obviously, much higher volume stores would need more stylists to support that business. But the average store would need about seven stylists. So we're not talking about a tremendous number or a huge team per store. So that helps as well.
No, and I like you talked about kind of the referral piece of this I certainly can see it with Sport Clips, but I think with most businesses, if you get into like year 2 and your best source for new employees doesn't come from your existing ones, you're probably not doing something right, because you want such a great experience. They are telling their fellow stylists, their cousin, their brother's girlfriend's boyfriend, whatever it is, I love my job. And somebody's going to go, wait, you actually like your job? How do I do what you do? How do I get there? So again, goes back to those kind of core values that you're talking about that you guys have instilled with everybody. You get candidates all the time that are talking to you about Sport Clips. What's maybe the most common concern you hear? Yeah, Brent, this sounds really good, but my concern is blank.
I think as it relates to our industry specifically, there was a pandemic recently. I heard maybe it was maybe 6 years ago, sometime around then. That might have been no, we didn't talk during that time, but that did a number on our industry. It really did. I mean, if everybody remembers back to that time, all haircutting stores and salons were meant we were forced to close our stores. So our CEO, who was appointed to his position right after the pandemic was announced, jokes sometimes say he was the first CEO to go from where we were at to a zero revenue company in such a short period of time. He's got that claim to fame there. I'm sorry. But that's probably the biggest concern for candidates coming into this. Has the business recovered to a point where I can be successful? And throughout that period, we did experience some closures, but as a percentage of our system, it was very, very small. So we really came out of the pandemic smelling, we're in a great position. We're building and we're back to pre-pandemic levels as it relates to revenue, and still working on growing client counts back to where they once were, but our revenue has fully recovered. So we're in a very healthy position right now.
And it's crazy to think it's literally, probably 2 weeks or like a week or so to the day of when that was 6 years ago, and you kind of forget how long ago that was. But I find it interesting that that's still something that is coming up for you guys when it's been so long. And I had somebody not too long ago kind of busted that as the first time I'd heard it in a while. And I'm like, whoa, we're still worried about the pandemic. Well, yeah, shut everything down. Like, if you think of nothing else, 6 years ago, would any of us know where to get a mask? Right? Like, you could not find them anywhere. And then after that, it was like, oh no, we're all masked up. We're good. And those type of things. So like, even if that crap happened again, we're so much better prepared for those type of things from back then. So that's crazy that comes up. What kind of throw one other thing at you, Brent, is so maybe What's something else about Sport Clips that you're like, man, I got to make sure everybody knows this?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's quite a few that we could talk all day about the things that really make Sport Clips unique. But what's unique about the focusing on men and boys is the recurring revenue aspect of our business. You could argue that's the same for salons, but salons primarily focus on a female client. Men get their hair cut a lot more often typically than women do. Yeah. It's every 3 to 4 weeks rather than 6 to 8 weeks for women. And from an efficiency standpoint, you can cut men's hair a lot faster than you can cut women. So you get 2 to 3 more cuts per hour than you do for women. So it really helps from an efficiency, productivity, and overall sales opportunity for our stores. But the other piece that's really super unique about us, and one of the things that made me fall in love with Sport Clips, is that we're anti-PE. Franchising has been taken over by private equity, and many brands are owned by private equity. No offense to the brands that are, but that's just not who we are. We've never taken PE money. We never likely will. I'm not the CEO, so I can't say we never will. But if you talk to him, he would say that we never will. And we wouldn't entertain PE franchisees either. We're not looking to do the 100-store deal with a PE group. We want to have a different kind of relationship with our team leaders. It truly is a family type of an environment. And we just don't think you lose some of that, in the PE world. So if you're looking for a safe haven from PE, Sport Clips could be right for you.
Well, it's as big as you've gotten as a brand. We're getting close to 2,000 units. Mm-hmm. It still really does feel like you guys have a smaller family feel to it with your owners and with your system, which is pretty hard to do at this point.
It is. It's very difficult to maintain, and of course, for those that have been with us that long, we have some great next gen. This is a generational business, so we have many great next gen stories of the children who have taken over their parents'
so cool.
business.
I love that.
And really just gone wild with it. It's definitely unique from that standpoint.
What's one thing, you've been in franchising for 20 years. Somebody listening to this podcast, thinking about franchise, whether it's Sport Clips or anything, yeah. What's maybe a piece of advice that you would give somebody to think about? Like, hey, how do you know if this is you, or is there investigating things? What tip would you give them?
There's just so many great opportunities out there, and I'd ask or suggest to anybody looking into franchising that they really look at the brands that they connect with as consumers first, and what they might find holes in their market where that brand could potentially work there. But beyond just selecting the right brands to look into and include in your discovery process, get to know the people behind the brand, because again, there's so many good business models out there, but your experience as a franchisee is going to differ drastically from brand to brand, primarily because of the people that you're going to be supported by and the leadership team of that company. And that's why I just absolutely love the fact that we're still privately held and very much a family-owned and operated business.
I was going to say that's a comment of somebody not owned by private equity, right? And so,
yeah.
And again, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I don't know that we discuss this enough in franchising, is how important that connection is with you as a potential franchise owner and the franchisor and the system, leadership, support, even other franchise. You kind of feel like you're in the right room, and because there's not a best thing out. I mean, everybody thinks theirs is the best, but there's not one best out there. And somebody may come in at Sport Clips and go, "Yeah, that's not the place for me." Cool, right? That's okay, but you can't sit there and go, "I love everything else, but I can't stand all the people and the support and the culture." You're getting married essentially, and if you hate all of your in-laws with a passion, that might be a little sticky long term. So I love that you brought that up.
And I love that you said that. And I think it goes both ways too, Tim. It's important for candidates, those pursuing any franchise opportunity, to understand. And some brands are less discerning than others.
Yes.
But I would say Sport Clips, and one of the reasons I'm so proud to work for the company is that we are extremely discerning. We don't accept everybody that shows up for a discovery day. Even though those discovery day candidates have gone through an extensive process to reach a point where we think they have a strong chance of becoming team leaders, it doesn't always work out. Right. And the only reason we would say no to a candidate is we just don't fit the culture and the values and not maybe quite comfortable enough with their background experience to help them be successful in this business. So it's really truly is combining families, and that's exactly how we talk during the discovery day. This is a very important decision for us, probably the single most important decision any brand can make, is selecting the right franchisees or team leaders for their brand. So we take it very seriously, and all of our senior leadership is involved that day in interacting with candidates and part of the decision-making process on whether to offer a new team leader an opportunity.
I absolutely love that, man. I thank you, Brent, so much for coming on today and talking to us about Sport Clips, reminding me that even as a bald guy, there's a great opportunity for me to go back and be a customer again. But thank you again. So always good speaking with you, and thank you so much for coming on today.
Really enjoyed it, Tim. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Hey, thanks again for tuning into the Franchising 101 podcast brought to you by Fran Coach. I hope these episodes continue to educate you on the amazing possibilities that can be achieved through franchise ownership. In between podcast episodes, if you still want to learn more about franchising and the ways in which Fran Coach can help, there are a few places for you to check out. First, tune in to the Franchising 360 show. It is the only nationally syndicated television show about franchising hosted by me and Danielle Wright. Our TV show airs every Friday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Biz TV. Next, check out the Fran Coach YouTube channel, which is Fran Coach for You. You can find tons of franchise-specific content there. Plus, you can catch past episodes of the Franchising 360 show. If you like to read, we encourage you to check out our book, Becoming a Franchise Owner. You'll never guess what it's about. And finally, when you're ready to take that first personalized step and explore the franchise industry further, please reach out to our amazing team at Fran Coach. You can click the QR code or find us at francoach.net. There is never any fee for our service, so let us help you create your better tomorrow.